Hello, Michael here, looking at Psalms 55, specifically verse 10 through to 12 for the exposition. The psalm which could be subtitled, Cast Your Burden on the Lord. Let's go ahead and read those verses then. We're going to read from verse 9 down to 12. Verse 9. Destroy, O Lord, and divide their tongues, for I have seen violence and strife in the city. Verse 10. Day and night they go about it upon the walls thereof. Mischief also and sorrow are in the midst of it. Verse 11. Wickedness is in the midst thereof. Deceit and guile depart not from her streets. And verse 12. For it was not an enemy that reproached me, then I could have borne it. And we look to the treasure of David for the exposition. Verse 10. Day and night they go about it upon the walls thereof. The city, the holy city, had become a den of wickedness. Conspirators met in the dark and talked in little knots in the streets, even in broad daylight. Meanwhile, the country was being roused to revolt, and the traitors without threatened to environ the city and act in concert with the rebels within. No doubt there was a smothered fire of insurrection, which Absalom kindled and fanned, which David perceived with alarm some time before he left Jerusalem. And when he quitted the city, it broke out into an open flame. Mischief also and sorrow are in the midst of it. Unhappy capital, to be thus beset by foes, left by her monarch, and filled with all those elements of turbulence which breed evil and trouble. Unhappy king, to be thus compelled to see the mischief which he could not avert laying waste the city which he loved so well. There was another king whose many tears watered the rebellious city, and who said, O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chicken under her wings, and ye would not. Verse 11. Wickedness is in the midst thereof. The very heart of the city was base. In her places of authority, crime went hand in hand with calamity. All the wilder and more wicked elements were uppermost. The canal was commanders. Scum floated uppermost. Justice was at a discount. The population was utterly demoralized. Prosperity had vanished, and order with it. Deceit and guile depart not from her streets. In all the places of concourse, crafty tongues were busy persuading the people with cozying phrases. Crafty demagogues led the people by the nose. Their good king was defamed in all ways, and when they saw him go away, they fell to reviling the governors of their own choosing. The forum was the fortress of fraud. The Congress was the convention of cunning. Alas, poor Jerusalem, to be thus the victim of sin and shame. Virtue reviled and vice regnant. Her solemn assemblies broken up. Her priests fled. Her king banished. And troops of reckless villains parading her streets, sunning themselves on her walls, and vomiting their blasphemies in her sacred shrines. Here was cause enough for the sorrow which so plaintively utters itself in these verses. Verse 12. The reader will do well to observe how accurately the psalmist describes his own psalm when he said, I mourn in my complaint, or rather, give loose to my thoughts. For he proceeds from one point of his sorrow to another, wandering like one in a maze, making few pauses and giving no distinct intimations that he's changing the subject. Now from the turbulent city his mind turns to the false-hearted counselor. For it was not an enemy that reproached me, then I could have borne it. It was not an open foe, but a pretended friend. He went over to the other camp and tried to prove the reality of his treachery by calumniating his old friend. None are such real enemies as false friends. Reproaches from those who have been intimate with us and trusted by us cut us to the quick. And they are usually so well acquainted with our peculiar weakness that they know how to touch us where we are most sensitive, and to speak so as to do us most damage. The slanders of an avowed antagonist are seldom so mean and dastardly as those of a traitor, and the absence of the elements of ingratitude and treachery renders them less hard to bear. We can bear from Shemaiah what we cannot endure from Ahithophel. Neither was it he that hated me that did magnify himself against me. Then I would have hid myself from him. We can find a hiding place from open foes, but who can escape from treachery? If our enemies proudly boast over us, we nerve our souls for resistance. But when those who pretended to love us leer at us with contempt, whither shall we go? Our blessed Lord had to endure at its worst the deceit and faithlessness of a favored disciple. Let us not marvel when we are called to tread the road which is marked by his pierced feet. Yeah, life gets hard sometimes, and worse when you are undone by a supposed friend. Read and learn. Make your spirit be alive, quickened by the Word of God. Trust you enjoyed the meditation. Michael here declaring yet again, Jesus is Lord. Until next time, be blessed.